And you want to let them know what your overall thoughts are on the platform and what you think of today?
I'm pretty impressed, but I am going to go on the record so that you have to put an intercooler on this thing.
Yeah.
You have to put an intercooler on this thing.
Yeah.
You have to put an intercooler on this thing.
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So on today's episode, we are going to finish the air-to-water intercooler. Now you may be wondering why I'm sitting in the hatchback of the Trailblazer and not up front, and that's because I changed what I wanted to do with this setup, and I'm pretty excited. So on the Trailblazers, there's this nice nifty little cargo compartment. There's this cool little, I guess, cover, you could say, that houses like a 5 to 6 inch deep rectangle housing. You put anything you want in here. Well, happen to have a an intercooler ice tank that fits perfectly in here. Now I did have to trim out some of that to get it to fit. I cut the carpet. I may actually cut the floor out and drop it a little bit further, because as you close it, I have to push this down to get it to latch like that. So it's kind of bowed up a little bit right here, but really excited with how this came out. So let me show you what it looks like. Now don't mind the cruddiness on it. This thing's been sitting in my garage for like the better part of a year. I picked this thing up for like 20 bucks from my buddy's house. He had no use for it. These are 10 AN bungs. Now we're gonna have a 10 AN bung that drops down from the outlet of the tank through the floor, and it's going to meet this intercooler pump. This is a Tesla coolant pump for the batteries. I believe that's what they use this for. Bunch of companies sell this exact pump though, like Whipple Supercharger, Lethal Performance, they sell them. It has 4 pins, 2 of which it has pulse width modulation capabilities. We don't want to do that. If you just wire the power and ground, it'll come on and it'll run 100% full time. But it is a smart pump, so it actually won't run if it detects like there's no medium in it, like no coolant or no water. It won't run. It won't burn itself out, which is kind of nice. It's a slow start, so and it's a brushless motor, which is nice. So this thing is about 7.7 gallon per minute, I believe, 7.2 maybe. I'll put that in the video once I look it up and confirm. But anyway, this is going to be mounted underneath. The coolant lines, well, I say coolant, but the water lines will run along the passenger side frame rail up through here, kind of like following the oil accumulator we have installed. And then it will find the hood latch. Then it will come and meet here on the intercooler. So if we put ice in the ice tank, the very first thing we want the ice to see, or the cool water to see, is this intercooler. So this will get flowed through with cool water. It will then come out of the intercooler and go into the heat exchanger, which we have mounted behind the grill. Very excited about that. So it'll go into this port here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a port up top right there. And then out of the heat exchanger on the bottom port, and then it will go back to the tank. So essentially what you're doing is you're providing cold water to this, but hot air is coming from the turbo going in there, and you're taking that hot air. The water is extracting the heat from the hot air, routing it to this heat exchanger, where then the heat from the water is dissipated through the heat exchanger, and then it's going back to the coolant tank. Now the good thing about ice tanks, in addition to being able to add a bag of ice, you can also when you have a long run like that, it keeps the water, the whole system full of water. It keeps it all from getting hot quicker than normal. Like, so sometimes, you know, you have underhood based tanks and reservoirs and everything, and it's all right here under the hood, but when you have it all close like that, it doesn't have like really long runs. So what happens is this whole system gets hot quick. When you have the tank in the back that's not even, you know, around anything that's hot, typically it takes longer for the entire system to get to the same heat that a system under the hood would get. So it's another reason why I went with that. I already had the tank. I do think it's cool. So we have this, we had to trim behind the grill, and I'll show you what we did with that in a little bit. But what I still need to do is I have these brackets. Right now it's just kind of sitting there because it's pressed in, and I'm gonna mount this bracket here. I'm gonna bend it up, and it's gonna meet those tabs coming off the heat exchanger. So it'll be bolted down there, it'll be bolted there. It can't move. I have another one of those black brackets somewhere around here. Up, it's over there on the ground. So yeah, we're gonna finish this up, and simultaneously we're gonna take this pipe here and this pipe here, because we're gonna eliminate this coupling. I just had it here so I could see what it looked like. We're gonna take this and this to my buddy Scott, and we're gonna weld them together. We're also gonna weld the MAF bung in, as well as the blow-off valve. So we're gonna have mass airflow sensor reinstalled, which is really awesome because we didn't have that on the first setup. And I don't know the benefits, but I do know that it's not gonna hurt having extra things in the tune. Now, a couple of additional things. We run this turbo guard now. I'm not gonna run the filter anymore because I think that it was just restricting too much flow. Previously, this engine oil dipstick was just kind of flopping around. I did bend the tab and get it to where it mounted back to the head. So now it's not flopping around anymore, and it actually looks, you know, normal. It's a lot cleaner that it's mounted. It's not moving around. I hate that. We did delete the heat. The heat is, for now, not really going to it's not going to be a feature. So the coolant lines that used to run through here, kind of loop back around. You used to see them all the way down there. They are not there anymore. They used to rest right against the wastegate dump coming off the manifold, and you kind of see where it's rubbed up. They no longer do that, so they come out of the head. You can kind of see that little aluminum pipe there. That's coming from the driver's side of the head. There's a port that comes out of the side of the head. It comes back around, and that would normally feed one of these heat exchanger ports, and then it would come out and then go back into the block on the passenger side. So essentially, to eliminate this, you just go straight from that port into the block, so it kind of loops around and then goes back in. I have this on here loosely right now just to make sure it wasn't going to hit the downpipe, which it doesn't. But I need to take this back off and then heat wrap all the coolant line. It's going to be much better because this exhaust is wrapped. The manifold was not wrapped, and not only that, but it doesn't even touch the downpipe. So pretty excited about that. But let's go ahead. I'm actually going to take this over to Scott's place now, get it welded. We'll show you that, and then when we come back, we'll finish the install, the intercooler, hoses, the pump, wire the pump, and then get it flowing, and you guys can see what it looks like. And then soon after that, we'll be able to drive it and monitor the intake temps and see how much cooler they are. All right, let me show you guys what we got going on here. So the new pipe that got fabricated up is installed, mass airflow sensor installed, new bung installed because the other one got tore up. Also a new intake air temperature sensor, not plugged in yet because this is actually not tight. But all of this is hooked up. Everything is tight to the intercooler, which is mounted. This pipe here, which I cut short, it was a new one, and then I rolled a bead on the one end that I cut. All of this is mounted. The compressor housing is still a little bit loose, so I need to retighten that down, but all of that is mounted. The heat exchanger also mounted. I had these two spare L brackets. They are mounted to the core support bar. They drop down, they're mounted to the tabs on the heat exchanger. Now I did have to modify the grill area. I cut the piece of plastic that's here. It has one of these provisions for a grill clip, and then there's two metal bars that actually connect this to the lower core support bar down here. There's also two bars that you can't really tell because there's plastic covering them, but there's a bar here and a bar here. So these little metal rods that were kind of a little bit behind here, preventing this heat exchanger from going back, they seemed kind of redundant to me. I cut them out, nothing really happened, but now this is mounted. I did put a little piece of rubber behind this so it wouldn't destroy the AC condenser. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this comes out. So we trimmed this plastic piece here to get these lines to be able to fit through. This line is coming from the intercooler right here, so it goes to the top of the heat exchanger, flows through and then out the heat exchanger, and this is going back to the tank, and then coming from the tank, which I haven't routed yet, is going to go to the intercooler right here. So these two lines, the one going back from the heat exchanger and the one coming from the ice tank, these are both going to run down the frame all the way to the back and then connect to the ice tank. What I'm kind of working on now is the wiring for the intercooler pump. So fortunately, the Trailblazer has this interior fuse panel underneath the driver rear seat, and this post here is hot, connected straight to the battery, so that's 12 volts. And I think I'm probably gonna, this 20 amp fuse here is the sunroof. I may tap off of that. I gotta turn the key on to make sure that's key on power. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a relay. So the key on power will energize the relay, and then the power from this 12 volt post will go to the pump, and then the pump will be grounded to the frame. So that's how it's going to come on as soon as the key is on. It is a smart pump, so it'll take a couple seconds, but eventually the smart pump will kick on, and then intercooler water will start flowing, and I don't have to worry about any switches. It's just going to happen. Now for the remote mount transcooler, I'm actually going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull power off of that 12 volt post, and then I'm also going to run a relay tapping off of one of the other fuses as well. For now, I only have this feed going from the tank to underneath the car, and then it mounts to where is it? There's the intercooler right there, or the intercooler pump, sorry. So it comes through, mounts the intercooler pump. So from here, it's going to go to the front of the car, and then I still need to cut the hole, but I'm going to cut a hole here, and then I have another 10AN90 push lock fitting, and the hose will come back up here. And initially, I probably should have done this first, but I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up now. But what I need to do, and I still plan to do, so I'm probably going to cut another hole here, and I need to take this tank out. Once I get everything mounted and ran, it's going to be easy. I can just take these lines off. But I'm going to put another 10AN fitting here with a 90, and then on the other side, like somewhere down here, I'll be able to go under the car, and I'm going to have a 90-degree valve. So if anyone's ever run air to water before, anytime you put ice in the system, you need to drain the water because you can only fit so much in the system. So the good point of that is I'll be able to drain this. I'll be able to put maybe not a whole bag of ice, but at least like half a bag of ice. And then what's nice about this is this has this screen here. So it actually prevents ice from going, down. Oh man, it's dusty in there. Prevents ice from, going into these lines and getting clogged. But anyway, that's a future plan. Pretty happy with how this came out so far. So I'm going to finish up the wiring, get all the lines ran, then show you guys what it looks like when it is in operation. Okay, so I want to show you guys a quick overview of what happened when we drove it on the first log since the intercooler install. Keep in mind, I was made aware shortly after this by Jeremy that the tune, because of the fueling, it is meth dependent. So this is probably not too wise on my part. However, just want to kind of show you guys overall how well this system works. So at idle, this mass airflow temperature down here, you can kind of see it hovers around 118, 120. But then as soon as you start to get on it, let's see here, where's throttle position? Commanded throttle position here, right? So I'm starting to accelerate 36%, 75, 81, we're at about 100% here. Actually, let's go to this one. So as we're accelerating, 89, 100%, my foot is to the floor. And if you scroll back here, right, we start at 115 degrees. The reason it's hot when you're not getting on it is because there's just not enough airflow to take advantage of the cool air in the intercooler. As soon as you start filling up all of the piping and you start to add boost, and it really fills the entire chamber and you get that extra mass flow, then it's going to take the cool charge into the engine. So as you're adding boost and you're getting on it 100%, you see the temperature drop to 88 degrees, 89 degrees, and it stays there through the duration of the pull. Once the pull is over, the airflow immediately leaves, right, because the blow-off valve opens. So any cool air that's in that charge pipe is then evacuated, and then it slowly goes back up to where it was. We'll come back here to the next pull, 111 degrees, right? Then we start to get on it, 40, 50, 60, 100% for a second. You can see it already drops to 86 degrees, and then you let off the throttle, all the cool air is released, and then it goes back up. So what does this mean? It means that this is working very well. The heat exchanger is doing a great job of extracting the heat that the water is pulling from the charge. So the system works great. And you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pulls, right? 4.5 maybe. This is kind of like a baby pull. And I did all 5 of these pulls, and I got back. This is a 5-minute log. I actually did this 2 logs. And then when I got back to the house, I opened up the tank, put my hand in the water, and it was still cool. So this does a fantastic job. Now let's see here. On this pull, we look at intake manifold absolute pressure, right? This is not 21 pounds of boost, by the way. This is absolute, right? So 14.7 is atmospheric. Anything above 14.7 is boost. So right here, we hit 22.5. I'm too tired right now to do some math. So let's see here. 22.5 minus 14.7. That's 7.8 pounds, right? It doesn't make as much boost in first gear. Once you get a little bit more load on it, second gear, third gear, that's when it really makes 9, sometimes 10 PSI. So that right there was about 8 pounds of boost. And at 8 pounds of boost, full load, right, we're seeing 89 degrees intake manifold temperature, 88 degrees, right? So, I mean, that's impressive. That's only 16 degrees above ambient. Whereas before, this value was through the roof. In fact, I can show you what it was. Let's look at the track paths. All right, so here is the pass that we made at the track. So first thing I want to show you is the mass air temperature, right? 160 degrees at idle, just chilling. It's already a 45 to 50 degree improvement just at idle with the intercooler. And then here we go. We start to ramp up on it. Speed is still 0, and then here we go. Boom. We take off. Air drops a little bit as we start to get airflow, but then it starts creeping up pretty quick. At the top of first gear, 175. Then it shifts, 181, 190, 200, 202, 203, and then boom. So let's just think about this real quick. 202 degree intake manifold temperature, and we're seeing 88 degrees. Now, what was the intake temperature of this day? Intake air temp also through the roof, right? 203 here, 202 here. So this the intake temperature sensor we have is before the throttle body. It's in the pipe. So these are pretty close to being the same. I mean, that's astronomical. So just do, quick math here. 203 minus 88. We're seeing a delta of 115 degree drop, right? And according to Jeremy's math, which is a pretty good rule of thumb, every 10 degrees of ambient temperature you can drop going into the motor, you see a 1% increase in horsepower. All right, so we're seeing 110 degrees. Or 115 degrees, right? So that's 11.5%. So we made 440 wheel horsepower. Multiply that by 1.15%. So that is a 66 horsepower gain based on that math, which would put us over 500 to the wheels just by putting the intercooler on it. I'm really hoping to see what this does at the track, and I'm hoping that it does fantastic. So I'm really happy with how this thing is performing. Oh, she is back together and she is running. Oh, she looks so good. Look at that. I'm so freaking pumped. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what I did. We just got back from the first drive. Probably just got done showing you my data log. So let me show you how it's all routed, and let me show you. I don't know how this dent got here, which is, that bugs me, because this is a hood that was like in pristine condition, but oh well. Let me show you what we got going on here. Before I pop the hood, I'll show you the wiring. So still got some stuff in here I need to take out, some spare parts. Underneath the rear driver's side seat, this is the relay and the plug. These are the wires that go back to the pump. If you take this cover off, I tapped into this fuse here. It's the one just below this bolt. This is the TCM fuse. Now the TCM is still protected by its own fuse. This is just pulling off 5-volt ignition source power. It's not even 5 volt. I think it's 12 volt. It's just pulling off 12 volt ignition power to energize the relay, and then the main power that's going to the pump is coming from this power post here, and then going through the relay to the pump. Now this is grounded, as well as the relay is grounded to that bolt there, which grounds it doesn't ground the box, but it mounts the box to the body. So it was a good grounding point. We went off of that. Overall, pretty happy with how it looks. May loom that a little bit so you don't see it, but it's hidden underneath the carpet going to the back. Then back here, kind of looks like a normal grocery getter. Got some occasional little things back here, and then push this down, pop this up, and boom, we have our ice tank. So there's the wiring there. It's coming from underneath the carpet, which is from the seats back there, going down through there and then to the intercooler pump. Now I'm pretty happy with how this flows. I'll show you here in a second. Let's go show you underneath the hood. All right, so here it is, all buttoned up. Now what we got here is this protected 3/4 inch line here is coming from the ice tank, and it comes up on that side of the frame, it loops around, and then on this side of the AC line to kind of keep it tucked, goes to the intercooler right here. This is what's feeding the intercooler. And then it flows through the intercooler, comes out of the intercooler from here, and then goes into the top port of the heat exchanger, comes out of the bottom port of the heat exchanger through this line here, flows all the way back, which is also protected down there because they run within a couple inches of the exhaust, so I don't want it to get too hot. I put this little bleeder valve in case I ever needed to free up, like let's say the not sure if the intercooler pump would ever get like airlocked or something like that, so just put it in there just to be safe. I didn't need it. Anyway, they're routed down here. They go through kind of similar as the accumulator line, and then comes underneath the rocker panel, and it sits in this channel all the way down the rocker panel, then makes the turn, goes over the axle, and then to the pump, and then back to the tank. Oh, pretty happy with that. I need to change up the routing over the axle a little bit, because right there where it's going is the only place I have to go with the exhaust to finish the exhaust coming out the back here. So that's gonna have to change, or I'm gonna have to just mount it up higher and then put a heat shield over it so the exhaust doesn't melt them or anything like that. But there's the pump. This is a brushless smart pump, which is with a soft start. Takes like 5 seconds to start once it sees power, which is nice, and then it slowly ramps in to full flow. And then there is the return to the tank right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the vehicle, and maybe a little loud, but I'm gonna show you how much this thing flows. Now it's pretty impressive. You know, when people ask, you know, you tell them, oh, it's like 7.2 or 7.5 gallons per minute, and it's like, oh, it's kind of good. For those that don't know, seeing it is actually what really tells the story. So it hasn't started yet, it's just now starting. And then there it is, full flow. I mean, this thing, it moves some water, and it's still really cold. It's about ambient, probably 65, 70 degrees. What I really like about this is once I add the drain valve here and get it out and have it drain, I'll be able to put ice in here, so I'm pretty excited. But that's gonna wrap up this video. I'm going to go ahead and stop this one here. Pretty happy with how this came out. Super pumped. Let me go turn the car off. Yeah, so super pumped with how this came out. The heat exchanger looks great back there. It's just a nice little subtle hint that this thing is not stock. If you can't tell by the exhaust, and that it's not an SS with SS wheels, but tons of people that don't have SS put SS wheels on it. So, and then just a reminder, we did do the control arms, the upper control arms on the last video. Those have come out nice. As you can tell, it's not really super cambered anymore. So that's what those A-arms were doing. They were fixing that massive negative camber. It worked really well. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up here. If you guys are new to the channel and you haven't seen a lot of these videos, you know, please feel free to subscribe if you like what you're seeing. We're really trying to push this platform, especially in the Trailblazer, really far. I have some really cool things planned for it. You know, bear with me. Obviously things take time, things cost money, but I'm really, really happy with how the intercooler came out. You know, Jeremy specifically said, like, you know, you need an intercooler, and that should really tell the true story. And I could tell you, after driving it, it's way faster. So hopefully one of the next videos coming up is going to be track testing, so we'll be able to compare our 13.4 best run of the last track outing with whatever we run with this setup. And I'm hoping, really hoping, we can get into the 12s. I'll be stoked. So quick little prayer for the 4L60, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.